This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Why we are here today, our goal is to present the accountability matrix associated with accountability in the curriculum and the performance of the schools throughout the state of Nevada, inclusive of Clark County. But I think it's important that we are stationed here at Matter because a lot of the issues we deal with throughout the state seem to culminate here in Clark County, and I think it's important for us to talk about accountability at the starting point of what we're trying to achieve. And so I will speak first. I will walk you through a couple of slides here as part of the presentation, and then Ms. Ebert will come forward and finish us out. All right? Sound good? Yeah. How are you? It's good seeing you, Red. All right. Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here at Matter. Is that right? Where's Principal Carvajal? There you are. Is it Matter? Matter. See, I did it right. Academy today. Today we are here to discuss an instrumental new accountability framework. With that, I'd like to read a few remarks to help introduce our new Acing Accountability framework. Today's presentation will outline our new accountability metrics for Nevada public education system for the next 2 years. This work is in collaboration with the Nevada Department of Education, the State Public Charter School Authority, and our public school district superintendents. Who's doing the slides? Are you, Elizabeth? Okay. You're doing a good job. As you know, in the past legislative session, I signed the largest education investment in Nevada history. Just like I said, I would in my State of the State address. Your, not mine, your education budget adds over $2 billion in new funding for education, allocates over $12 billion in funding for K-12 education over the next biennium, and fully funds the pupil-centered funding plan for the first time in history. That's another one. With this historic funding, however, comes unprecedented accountability. As I stated in January, along with this funding, I expect results. I won't accept a lack of funding as an excuse for underperformance. I'll be working with our state superintendent to ensure our systems of accountability and transparency are robust and enforced.
Yes, absolutely.
Today I'm here to do just that, alongside our state superintendent, Ms. Joan Ebert. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
As part of our new system of accountability, Senate Bill 98 was enhanced to identify specific metrics of performance. These metrics look at student growth, proficiency, and engagement, as well as the stability of the workforce in our schools. At this intersection of SB 503's funding and SB 98's metrics is a new system of accountability for the school district and charter school leadership. This system is intended to measure how the increase in education funding will impact student achievement and district data. This will be accomplished by focusing on the responses and data of school districts and charter schools related to 6 essential questions, leveraging annual goals set for the next 2 school years. The bottom line. We believe that by investing money in our schools and providing intentional focus on systems, processes, and results, we can improve student achievement and educator effectiveness. Over the next 2 years, we will have the opportunity to thoroughly evaluate the impact of our investment. It is our children's responsibility to do it's our responsibility, not our children, it's our responsibility to do our absolute best for Nevada's children. I won't accept anything less. So the key point on that, I said in 2 years. Obviously, it takes a long time to turn a cruise ship or something as wielding as the education system, especially here in Clark County. And we will allocate the entire 2 years to evaluate that data and those numbers and performance of both our students and instructors to see if we're accomplishing what we intended to accomplish, with accountability associated with it. So at this time, I would like to introduce Nevada Superintendent of Public Instruction, Ms. Joan Ebert, to explain the focus areas of our Acing Accountability Plan. Thank you. Joan?
Thank you, Governor, for the introduction, and my team and myself very much appreciate your support, your direction, your leadership for education. So I'm going to quickly go over the 6 essential questions that we have shown here and the expectations, namely utilizing the public funds that we have, making sure that the resources are driven to the most effective practices there are to ensure that our students are performing at expected high levels and that they're prepared for life beyond K-12 education. It's with the support of a skilled and successful team that we can make sure that we address the challenges that currently are facing our communities to be able to move forward in a strategic and comprehensive way. The first essential question asks, to what degree are school districts, the SPCSA, and its charters effectively implementing reading and mathematics resources? So we're making sure we're going in to school districts, into the schools, making sure that the materials, first off, that they're using are aligned to expectations, that they have resources in the classroom, the funding has been provided, that the resources are aligned to make sure we get strategic outcomes. We're going to look at their performance plans as well, the district performance plans, making sure that they are aligned to these 6 essential questions that we're looking at as we all move forward. The next 2 essential questions are focused on our kindergarten through 8th grade students. The target area for grades K-3 students is building literacy, while for 8 we're looking at mathematics. While the next 2 areas are focused on assessment results, I want to be clear that we are not adding any new assessments to the system. These are already assessments that we're currently implementing. We're going to watch those scores, set these benchmarks that you have here today, and move forward. The second essential question asks, to what degree are kindergarten through grade 3 students demonstrating progress towards mastery in literacy? When it comes to early literacy, at least 65% of our kindergarten through 3rd grade students should be meeting or exceeding their personalized learning goal. The tools that we use measure each and every one of our students in grades K through 3. They have individual learning goals. At least 65% of our students should be meeting their individualized learning goals. And so that will be tracked with rigor. Our K-3 students, the goal is also, we're looking at with SPCSA and our school districts, that we're looking at the 65th percentile for proficiency. So in Nevada, our systems, we released that data last Friday. Thank you for covering that as well. We value growth because we know our students are not where they need to be today. Adequate growth measure, AGP. And this tracks if a student who was previously not proficient to be proficient within 3 years or by 8th grade. So we want to make sure that by the time that they're in 8th grade and prior that they're proficient, and we're going to be looking at those growth scores. We want to make sure that there's at least a 5% annual improvement in those scores. Here too, we're looking at proficiency, and our proficiency levels on the SBAC, our Smartest Balance Assessment, is level 3 and level 4. And so we want to make sure that there is at least a 5% annual growth there as well. The fourth essential question asks, to what degree are high school students and graduates prepared for success in college or career? They're ready for our business partners, can enter into higher education right away or go into the workforce. We're making sure that they're aligned with our college and career ready diploma, that our students are enrolled, but we need to make sure that we increase that success quickly and not wait another biennium as we move forward. The fifth essential question asks, to what degree do school districts and the SPCSA have a workforce that is going to meet the needs of our students? The classroom teacher, a highly effective educator, has the power each and every day to change our children's lives. And so making sure that we have a licensed teacher, a specialized instructional support personnel, our support staff, all come together in our system to help every single child. So this metric focuses on reducing that percentage of open or unfilled positions by filling the positions, not eliminating the positions. This state goal is to make sure that at least 95% of our classrooms are led by licensed educators and or instructional specialized support personnel. We know that it is often more difficult to fill these positions at our neediest schools, but we have to ensure that the knowledgeable staff is at our Title I schools as well. So this metric makes sure that the distribution of highly effective staff is also within our most neediest schools, our students with the steepest climb. We have the first, and I've introduced to you the first 5 essential questions. We also have given room in this system. We have 17 unique school districts, from the 5th largest in the nation to a school district that has under 100 children. And so having one system for all of the children, the expectation, setting those high is important. But we also need to value and honor the context that each of our communities has. So for the 6th one, we're asking, to what degree are school districts and the SPCSA using innovative solutions to meet the unique needs of their students? What are they going to do differently? How are they going to measure success? We know that they're going to set up either 1 to 2. I've spoken with the superintendents. I said, please do not do more than 2. Let's get focused on the work that we have here, laser focused on the work that we have before us. So they will be adding another metric, which will come to myself and the team and will be reviewed and approved before moving forward. So all of this work together is to make sure, as the governor said, that we set up a system that drives forward and ensures that our students have the tools they need to be able to be successful, to build a home, a life, and a future. The Department of Education stands ready to work closely with everyone. I know the community will come together to support our students. We're asking you to focus on these items: elementary, English language arts; middle, mathematics; secondary, high school, college and career, workforce, dual credit, AP/IB courses. Focus, come together, and lift our students up. I also want to recognize, before we go to questions, some very important people that make this work happen. I know we have Elizabeth Ray from the governor's office, who always helps us, and Elizabeth Callahan from the Department of Education. I know they'll stand ready to support. But Deputy Superintendent Anne-Marie Dixon, she just joined our team. She's a 27-year educator in Washoe County School District, principal supervisor, also a turnaround principal. So when we've had these metrics, people go, you know, can they be met? This woman has done it and tells you they can be met and stands ready to support. I also have Patty Oya here with us this morning. She is our director for our early learning pre-K. The governor signed AB 400 to make sure that there was $140 million made available for our earliest learners. So setting the students up early on for success. So Governor, thank you once again for focusing on education, the attention that you give. We're excited to be here, and I know that we are turning the show over now to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth.
So, yes, please, sorry, I didn't accept that.
Everybody deserves a good clap.
So we are going to take a few questions. I do want to say we are trying to focus the questions on Acing Accountability and what we're doing here today versus outside topics. So if anybody has any questions.
I have one. Is there anything here that...
Please identify yourself.
Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
I'm trying to word this properly, but basically can the superintendents or the union screw this up?
Great question.
Would you like to handle that question, sir? Yeah, I'm just, we're both jointly. So the expectation is focus on the children, right? This system, if you notice, is about the district leadership. It is not about individual schools or teachers. So the funding that has been made available, that is where the focus will be, the district leadership, and to make sure that the resources are aligned to the expected outcomes.
Okay.
And I think an important piece on this is to address the elephant in the room, per se. So what if they don't meet the metrics? And what is the recourse? What is the threat that is given as a result of this significant infusion of monetary support? Unfortunately, in the research of the NRS, the result of data provided to those individual leaders. And then we will work out the negative consequences. Don't ever want to say the twist of the arm involves monetary value, right? I don't want anybody to have the perception, okay, well, we're going to cut off your funding, and who suffers as a result of that, right? The children. So we want the funding to be allocated to, or the perception of funding to be directly related to resource allocation and ability to have sufficient resource to develop an environment of success.
Hi, Felicia Ortiz, State Board of Education President.
Who are you? No, say it again. I want the press to know that you're here.
So, Felicia Ortiz, State Board of Education President. I am wondering, so we were blessed this last session to have a huge surplus, which has allowed us to do this infusion of funds. What can we as a community do to ensure that these investments in education continue beyond this biennium, to ensure that these outcomes that we'll hopefully see will also continue beyond this biennium and into the future?
Well, conversation of support, right? I mean, you can't have a constant conversation of threat because that doesn't work well in any leadership ability. But the community can get engaged when we talk about school choice. And we're here at a charter school today, right? And we know that charter school has an influence on the education system and the success of the system. And the community could help us with that conversation. It's been lost by bipartisanship, I believe, and we got to remove the partisanship and promote what breeds success. The conversation of success crosses that partisan line, and that's where the community can help us in that endeavor. Yes, sir.
Joshua with Channel 8. You know, this is for Superintendent Ebert. You know, looking at this data that was handed out to us, you have here 32%, if I'm reading this correctly, in 2023, 32% of K through 3 achieve early literacy. And you have 27% of kids 4 through 8 proficient in math. Like,
I think that's the report card.
And I know, kind of piggybacking to what the first gentleman asked, how do you hold the administrator and the superintendent accountable? Because these are kids, right, that's supposed to be successful in the world, and you only have 27% in Clark County, at least, that are proficient in math.
Yeah, so having the transparency with the data, right? This dashboard is critical to make sure that it's not just every year, once a year that we release this data, that we're tracking it over time, coming and making sure that those resources that we talked about earlier are implemented, and then also our community partners. We have, education is a system that has so many complex parts, and what we want to make sure is that we laser focus on, if children can read, right, by 3rd grade, then they're set up to have access to all the rest of the curriculum, the science, the social studies, all of those pieces. And so lifting that data up, thank you for repeating where we are today. It is not acceptable. We need to move now. Our children are phenomenal human beings who have the capacity to learn and demonstrate their skill set at a much higher level. And so all of those things coming together, staying focused on early literacy, mathematics, college and career, you will see those numbers go up.
And I think the key there was what Ms. Ebert said was the focus, identifying what's the curriculum needed at this stage in your life as a student to ensure that that's what the administration and the principals and the teachers and everybody is directing all their efforts to that particular focus. And to repeat those numbers, I'm glad you brought it up. I kind of figured it would be brought up. It shows you what we're doing is not working, correct? And then quite often we come up with an excuse as a result of crisis, the crisis being COVID. And the reason why the numbers were poor is because we were trying to get through COVID and at-home learning and the minimization of the ability to receive information. But those numbers are in comparison to pre-COVID numbers. And so we have decreased as a result. We're well over a year past the doldrums of COVID and the issues that were associated with preventing education during that time. So there is no more excuses. No more excuses. And you can't behind flawed data because everybody has the same data. Everybody's operating off the same picture and those numbers, and you understand what goals you're trying to achieve. And the focus piece keeps you directed on those particular goals. And so if you saw 65% as compared to 37%, that's a big lift, right? And can you do that in 2 years? No, you most definitely can't do it in 2 years, but you can show significant improvement during that time. Yes, ma'am.
Renee Fairless, lead principal from Matter Academy.
Say it again.
Renee Fairless, lead principal from Matter Academy of Nevada. We have 3 schools here in Southern Nevada. I just want to publicly thank you because funding the base for students allowed Olivia Carvalho, principal here, to give significant raises to our teachers. And there's a lot in the media about that, but we were able to use that base. The teacher is the single greatest factor in that classroom, building the relationship with the student, and so you recognize that, and so we appreciated that. Charter schools often are left out of funding formulas, and we were included, and it was significant, and that's how you keep teachers is, you never want money to be the factor, but when it's your income, it is the factor. They're going to look for something else or they're going to leave the state. So I just want to publicly make sure that everybody thanks you. The increase in the base for special education, for English language learners, and just the base itself was significant. Been here for 30 years, the greatest increase I've seen, as you said earlier, so I just want to publicly thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate your words of support, but it's important for people to realize and bring us away from that constant conversation of more money is not going to make a difference, right? Actually, it is. It is, but it's got to be part of the bigger picture. So, and I always equate it to a 3-legged stool. And, the money is the initial piece. That's the building we're standing in, right? That's the cooling systems. That's part of the funding. Then you got the base. You got your wraparound services. You have your curriculum, right? And then you have your teachers. And teachers have to be appropriately compensated to ensure that you have stability in the workforce and ensure that you have the ability to recruit. So it's all part and parcel to each other. And without the funding, you can't simply say, well, we're going to remove the funding until you do better. It doesn't work that way. They all have to work together. So.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking on salaries and teachers, question 5 here talks about the workforce. On the other sheet, you have the retention and recruitment of teachers and education support professionals. I mean, the elephant in the room might be that contract negotiations that's happening here in Clark County. Is there part of this accountability making sure as much money from SB 231 can go to teachers? Because, I mean, they're right in the middle of the negotiations. How is that going to work? How is it going to happen?
What is the question?
How are you going to make sure enough money or the right amount of money is going to teachers or winning that 10%?
Well, that's defined by statute, the ability to allocate that money with that particular bill. But the question that is presented and the reason why there's that strife or that impasse with the association and the administration here in Clark County is how do you pay it into the future, right? Nobody can predict the financial wherewithal of the state into the future, and if you listen to the people that are smarter than me in the economy space, they say there is a fiscal cliff pending in the out years, and you got to ensure if you put that money into a salary base that you can pay that in perpetuity. It doesn't go away with the economy, and that's what they're evaluating on that. What exactly that number is, and ensuring that we have long-term support versus short-term support. And I've said it right up front, teachers need to be compensated. It's deplorable that they haven't had a significant increase in their COLAs in decades. And I'm going to do everything in my power as the governor and part of the mediation process and the financial process to ensure that they are appropriately paid. What the final number looks like is dependent now, unfortunately, in Clark County to an arbitrator. But I anticipate they're going to be well situated.
But is there somebody making sure that enough money from SB 231, the right amount of money is going to teachers? Because I mean,
yeah, that's defined by a matrix in the law. That's defined by a matrix in the law, and then those ratios are determined by district, right? And then we'll ensure that the money is allocated appropriately. Right, Maria? Yes, ma'am.
Basically, he's heard all that going back to his questions. And I know that one of the implementation expectations is to have enough staff to serve the kids. Do you think having that process and negotiation in Clark County can affect possible recruitment?
Yes, absolutely, definitively. You know, the unknown is very troublesome for somebody looking to provide for their families, right? And no matter what the award is at the end of the process, it would be retroactive. They're protected at their current rate. It's an evergreen clause here in the state of Nevada that ensures that they're appropriately paid like they currently are. Now, the retroactivity of that will be supplemented upon the award by the arbitrator. But the point of your question is, what are you going to do in the meantime during that process, right? Unfortunately, it's a long process, and it's an important process, but we have to let it go the direction that it's going. In the meantime, we're continuing to recruit, we're continuing to have conversations and assurances that you will be well compensated upon your arrival.
Okay. One more quick question, and I think we're going to wrap it up and go on some tours.
I just wondering if you can further clarify what's going on right now between the district and the teachers. And you've explained a little bit about this.
Well, my concern today is this. That's what's going on today. Acing Accountability, I've opined on the collective bargaining agreement. That's something that I'm actually stepping a little bit too further in it than I should. We're going to let that process play itself out. And I'm going to do the best I can to have continued conversations with both parties and ensure that we have success on both sides of the fence. But today we're talking about Acing Accountability and the measurements and the matrix that goes along with and ensuring our kids are learning the way they should be learning. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.